Hi everybody, today I wanted to review the Traxxas Stinger brushed motor, but unfortunately when I installed it in my HSP Brontosaurus, which is the same as the Red Cat Volcano, it burned out on the second run, not even going through a battery pack. So what I was going to do was put back the stock 550 motor, and unfortunately, it's too bad that the Stinger burned out because it really ran fastest that this truck has run before. I did a GPS reading on it, just like I did for my LiPo battery reviews to see the speed increase, and it did go 36 kilometers per hour, which is 22.5 miles per hour, using this Traxxas Stinger motor. So I just did one quick run to get a speed reading, and then the next day I took it on some flat dirt, just ran it around for less than 5 minutes, smelled some burning electrical smell, and felt the motor. It was just frying even from underneath, and that's it. It just won't turn on again. So looking at the specs for this truck, I found out that it has a 64 tooth spur with a 17 tooth pinion gear. So I don't know if that's a good setup or not for this particular motor. I called up Traxxas to see if they have any insight. You know, as soon as you tell them that you're installing it in a car that's other than Traxxas, they say, oh well, that's the problem right there, so that's it. So I said, okay, well, what happens if I told you I put it in a slash with a 64 tooth spur and a 17 tooth pinion? And you know, you didn't know what to say at that point. So unfortunately I didn't really get to use this motor, and I got it from Best Buy. The reason why I got it was because my ESC was actually giving me problems. This is the third ESC I installed on here, HSP branded. The first one burnt out with a puff of smoke testing a LiPo battery, maybe because I didn't put the little jumper in. And the second one, yeah, here it is here. So I replaced it again with the second one, but the second one had a throttle problem. The throttle problem was like you'd hit full throttle, it would go slowly, then all of a sudden it would speed up. So the throttle response just wasn't there. So I didn't know what the problem was. I go, well, I just replaced the ESC, so it can't be that. So I replaced the receiver, and it wasn't that. So I said, well, let me try the motor. Maybe my original motor's burnt out. Here it is here. And it wasn't that either. So funny enough, all the you know, where I bought this truck from said it was a 540 motor, and you know, if you look up the other clones like Red Cat Volcano or Exceed Infinitive, they also say 540 motor. But looking at this, I hope you can see that it says 550 SH, which to me means it's a 550 motor. And you can see over here that the stock motor is a little bit longer than the 540. So I'm assuming this is a 550 motor. So anyways, what happened was I ordered this motor from Best Buy because I wanted to get the Traxxas iPod dock, which was 30 bucks, and you can only get free shipping if you spend 50. So to top up my cart, I bought this motor. So that's the reason why I bought it. And it worked really well for one run. So what we're going to do now is put back the stock motor, which I've cleaned out with some electrical motor spray, and maybe I'll do a video about that, how I went about doing that, because I don't know if you've tried to do it before. Not too bad I don't have it here at my table to show you the spray, but I just got it from the hobby shop, electrical motor cleaning spray, and I ran it in slowly and ran through, sprayed it in these holes here, so a lot of crud was coming out. Then all of a sudden, once it's all cleaned out, it'll start screaming and make a noise. So that means that your bearing, to me, I think it's the bearings here at the back and the front, was already cleaned off of all the oil. So it starts screaming. So then you gotta grease those two bearings. And I used some WD, and it seemed to work, but then I guess it evaporates or dries up. It just doesn't last. So it starts screaming again. And then I used some bicycle grease, like bicycle chain grease, for the gears, and that seemed to work well. So that's what I used. I probably should use some real bearing grease, but I didn't have any. I didn't want to buy some. So that's another story. So you got to take this cap off here, and I'm just loosening this. Two screws, I believe, is holding it down. Let's see what else. It could be this one here, actually. No, this is the post. This isn't it. This is the post. That's the battery post. Yeah, that's the battery post. It's the one beside it. Then you got 4 bolts on the top. So apparently you can run brushed motors with brushless ESCs. So that's probably the way I should have went, because being on the 3rd brushed ESC now, I'm $15 a piece, you know, 3 of them, so 45 bucks right there. And probably could have got a half decent brushless ESC, which will be more durable, I'm hoping. And something's still holding this down. So, what is holding that down? Oh, it's sort of like, so this part goes inside and around the spur gear, so you got to sort of turn it and take it out. So there's the inside here. They are metal. Is it metal? This is plastic, isn't it? Yeah, this is plastic. And it looks plastic to me. And it looks like some rock got in there, so it started to chew up the gear a little bit, but seems to be good enough. So, one more screw. Well, at least they got the spur and pinion somewhat protected with this guard here. So there's the other side of the guard. So it needs 4 screws on the bottom and 4 screws on the top to take that off. So now, actually it's 3 screws on the bottom, because this one here is holding the guide, or whatever you call that, the motor mount. So let's put the motor mount back, because I think it's going to make it easier to take the motor off and on. If I can. Of course. Okay. So to get this off, you need to have a little Allen key, and you gotta loosen those two Allen key screws. Too small. And I don't have enough leverage because it's a straight screwdriver type. Sorry about that, just getting my Allen key. Should have probably paused the video, but this camera doesn't allow me just to continue simply. I have to edit the video and attach the video, so let's see here. Okay, good. Pain getting in there. Let's see if I loosened it enough with the angled Allen key. Just unscrew the rest. Okay. Yeah, so if anybody has any insight on, the whether or not this motor should have lasted, or if I was totally running the wrong spur and pinion, or what spur and pinion we need to make this motor work properly on this chassis. So again, this is HSP Brontosaurus or Red Cat Volcano or Exceed Infinitive. So we got the motor off. Here it is. To get the pinion off, you need another Allen key, and of course not the same size as the motor mount. It needs to be a smaller one. So here's the smaller one, and this one's too small. Okay. Having no luck with these. Okay. So what a shame. Huh. Just taking a look inside. Nothing seems to be wrong with it that I can see. I guess it's internal. So, just I probably should just go to brushless and get it over with. But it's so darn expensive. And let's see here. So I was thinking, well, maybe I'll get a 12-turn 550 Traxxas motor, but I don't know. I saw some things online. People were running it in these types of trucks, but they burnt out quickly too. They don't say exactly when, so maybe again it's related to the gearing. I don't know. But probably I was thinking then that probably the more appropriate motor from Traxxas would be the there's a 550 Monster one called, I guess it's 550 Monster. It's in the used in the Emax. So I think it's just 25 bucks Canadian. I might try that next. I'm not sure. So what you have to do here is just to leave enough space between your spur and pinion, you need to put some paper in there. And I'm just going to double fold this. Maybe I should quadruple fold it. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. But I don't want it too tight against my spur so I can get some freedom of motion. And push it into the spur. Hopefully it's making contact. Now this looks kind of tight. Better go back to the 2. Now the hard part is putting these tiny little motor mount screws back. Okay, so we finally got that bolt in there, and a little trick if you haven't discovered this, I just discovered you can magnetize your tools by rubbing it against the motor. And this one too, look at that, it's magnetized. So I got that in there, and this paper is now stuck between the spur and pinion. So to get that out, I want to just rip that out and have a piece of paper stuck between those. So I'm going to try and drive this. And there it is, it just pops out that way. And let's see now if we have any luck here. Let's put this, you'll see, back in place. And plug these motor connectors back in. Okay, and here's my battery pack. Okay. Probably should have turned on this transmitter first. It's not moving. So what the hell happened now? It would help if I plug the ESC into the receiver. Alright, it's alive, alive! And a good amount of space between the spur and pinion. Hope not too much. Looks safe enough. So, there you have it. The motor replacement and semi-review of the Traxxas Stinger brushed motor. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and share.